hold of
I
it.
was
The
like,
entire system
dude.
shuts down. The Ragnar explodes. Great series, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Welcome, everyone, to episode 5 of Star Trek Valhalla, a Star Trek Adventures actual play run by myself, Dear Wolf, and 5 of my very good friends who are amazing role players, and it has been an absolute joy and an absolute journey playing with them over the last 15 sessions, episodes, a season and a half. We are up to a season and a half, as well as even some crossovers from some of our players as well. So, with that being said, enough out of this old hound wolf. As I always say, we're going to go around the table. We're going to have all of these beautiful people introduce themselves, tell us who they're playing, and then this week we actually have 2 opening logs. We have an opening log from the perspective of the captain, based on the events of the last 2 sessions, both of Magmel and Star Trek Valhalla. And then we also have a perspective from one Commander Ajay, who, well, was lost in space and time for a little bit, and maybe lost her mind some as well. We'll find out, but let's go Brian, Sidereal Day, Charles, Symbol, Jubaka, take it away.
Hello, I'm Brian, and I'm playing. Wait, no, I do this differently usually. I'm Brian. I'm at Mind Over Brian on both Twitter, Twitch, and now on Steam. So hit me up if you want to play some games, online or off. I mean, don't come to my house to play offline games. That'd be weird. But I'm playing Captain as Trey. Oh boy, I forgot my name even. I am playing Captain Asbatreso, the Betazoid captain of the Ragnar, who has forsworn his telepathic gifts.
Good evening, I'm Sidereal Day, and I play Commander Ajay Shahira, the Bajoran First Officer and Chief Medical Officer.
Hello, I'm Charles. I play Ensign Zed, the Chief of Security and Operations Officer of the Ragnar.
Hello, I am Symbol. I play Lieutenant Alden Paris, the Science Officer of the Ragnar.
And I'm Jubaka. I am playing Lieutenant Commander Krev, the Chief Engineer of the Ragnar.
Brilliant. And of course, I am Dare Wolf, the Game Master, and as always, it's a pleasure to be here with you all. We're going to start with the opening log from Captain Treso. So we see him, likely, I would assume, unless you tell me otherwise, inside of his captain's ready room. These events, this opening log, is taking place roughly a week after everything that transpired between the Ragnar, Kronos Station, and the Boudica. He's had some time to collect his thoughts, and without further ado, Captain Treso, take it away.
Captain's log, stardate 405675.36. It's been a week since the young Q disappeared and seemed to return the Ragnar to her appropriate place in the space-time continuum. Despite my interaction with the Boudica crewman indicating that the Ragnar had been missing for a year, it seems we've returned to the very moment we vanished, and confirmation with Starbase 123 has cemented our adventure's conclusion. The ship seems to have returned to her original state, much to the disappointment of one Lieutenant Commander Krev, who insists we should be searching for his lost space dragon. Otherwise, the crew has been remarkably resilient given our recent tribulations, but I have resolved to give everyone a bit of breathing room by taking the Ragnar to Amariosa 5, a resort planet on the edge of the Shackleton expanse, for a bit of much-needed R&R. I've had to actively resist the impulse to look up Commanders Rin and Mitchell for fear of affecting the timeline adversely, and I have issued similar prohibitions to the rest of the crew. Counseling staff, all 2 of them, have had their plates full over the past week, as I have also ordered that everyone be given a mental health debrief. I know that watching an officer push their fellow into a warp core has had an adverse effect on my peace of mind, and I have to believe that at least some of the crew would have witnessed similarly traumatizing things. Both Lieutenant Paris and Ensign Zed have been reticent to expand on their sparse reports, and unsurprisingly, I can make little sense of Commander Ajay's report, as her perspective seems to shift and skew as she gives it. I may have to content myself that all has returned to its proper place, and that the best I can do is take care of the crew moving forward.
And as the captain finishes his opening log, what is the expression on the captain's face? How do you look as you rise from your ready room and likely make your way back to the bridge?
He's pretty pensive, but also kind of it's nice that it's nice and calm now. So like, resigned, but
Resigned. I like
pensive.
it. Beautiful. As we zoom out from the captain's ready room window on the first deck of the Intrepid class Ragnar, we sort of come up and over. We see the massive painted on name, the numerical designation of the Ragnar, and then we do this zoom down through deck, all the way down to where the medical bay is. And in the office of the medical bay, we see A-Rob, apparently, because that's who I have on the top of the sheet there, but that's horrible. All right. We actually see Commander Ajay also giving a opening log, perhaps either doing it verbally or typing it up. Commander Ajay, please take it away.
Personal log, stardate 405675.36. It's been a week since my sudden transport to, and back from, the USS Boudica. Since then, I've been kept busy in both of my primary roles. There were plenty of injuries to see to amongst the crew. More mental, emotional than physical, truth be told, for which Counselor Naras and Nurse Tomas have been most helpful. And quite a few people to conference with about what happened, what we will do next, so on and so forth. Captain Treso has been considerate in keeping all of this in mind, keep permitting everyone time to adjust to everything we went through rather than continuing to press on with the Shackleton exploration. Though my time on the Boudica was brief, I do not think she has even been commissioned yet, given that her crew of the time was from a year ahead of this one. I do believe it was a good experience. The Ragnar is only the second ship I have served on, given my prior long-term assignment to Starbase 713, and it can only have done me good to see how Captain Hagen and her crew functioned. Despite two of their officers being missing, apparently on the Ragnar, just as Ensign Zed and I found ourselves on the Boudica. The captain impressed me with her willingness to hear Yiva call out despite the way that woman plagued both of our ships. Although her and Commander Jasoniman's ultimate solution of finding a way to contact the Q who owned the station was brilliant, and ultimately well done, well timed. Although the Q did imply that they did something else as well. I'm not quite certain of what, however. And of course, Ensign Zed should be commended for restraining himself from once again smashing the crystal used by the Numfell for their ceremony. Even with the return to normal duties, uncertainties plague me. Should I feel vindicated that my belief in the importance of Kronos Station proved true? Concerned that our ship's company has drawn the personal attention of a Q? Humbled that I dare to believe I felt the Prophet's hands on my life? Of course I can't prove that last. I had no vision, touched no orb, spoke with neither prophet nor emissary, and yet, have faith, Father would say. I have faith, just not in the way he does. I saw too much personal corruption while training to become a Prylar. No, my faith lies in the Prophet's existence and in my surety that they work towards their goals even as we do. But the goal they had here, countering that paw wraith, did they take an active role in it? Or do I just imagine that because of my fear? I've recovered the log I attempted to make of my interaction with the paw wraith when it came to me in sickbay, before I fainted and woke on the Boudica. All I can hear is static, and occasionally some of the words I spoke to it. No proof of anything beyond whatever began to affect me when we neared Kronos Station, when we first spotted the Boudica. Captain Hagen suggested that it was perhaps her psychic resonance that reached me, that spoke of being close to help. And yet I cannot help but wonder. There was also that voice that spoke of the center of the station, where the paw wraith once again materialized, where Ensign Zed and I needed to be in order to return to the Ragnar. That voice that was surrounded by thousands of people screaming in so many languages. Hubris is the downfall of many. And if I cannot trust my own senses, well, that is faith too. It is reassuring to be back in our own time, our own timeline, our own universe. Out of the infinite variations that exist, despite this one having its low points along with its high, I find myself quite content to be exactly where I belong, in this universe, on this ship, with this crew. Life may have more twists for me, but for now, yes, I would not change the decisions that have led me here. End log.
First and foremost, absolutely brilliant, both of you. You may all have a maximum amount of momentum. You can have 6 momentum, so you're capped on momentum right now, which is brilliant. That was very well done, both of you. But we're going to stick with Commander Ajay. We're going to stick with Commander Ajay. And Commander, you've just finished perhaps dictating, perhaps typing this up. I'm not sure how you chose to do it. But I would like to get an impression from you, Commander Ajay. What do you look like after you finish? After you end log? After you press save? How do you look in this moment?
Like there's a weight off her shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Like just speaking it makes her feel like it's not weighing on her as much. Like things
Lighter.
are okay. Yeah.
Perhaps her shoulders were sunken, and we see that they, just like with a breath of air, similar to the way Chronos Station was ebbing and flowing, we see her rise perhaps a little bit in this moment. As she is having this moment to herself, she hears sir?
Yeah. Oh, Nurse Hagen.
Hello, sir. You seemed to be deep in thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just you mentioned you wished to speak with me about something.
Oh.
You haven't seemed quite yourself lately. I was just trying to give you the proper space. Are you okay, Commander?
Yes, nurse. Thank you for asking. I think we're all still recovering from what happened with Chronos Station.
Of course.
Yes, I wanted to commend you, Nurse Hagen.
Commend
My
me?
understanding is that you did a very good job in my absence.
Well, I just did what any good Starfleet officer would do. Thank you, Commander. I value this crew. I value my position aboard the Ragnar, and I value the opportunity to do good. My people often focus more on frivolities than actual true contributions, at least in my humble opinion. So I just wish to break the mold. Thank you.
Well, you say you only did what you should, but you did good work, and that deserves recognition. So thank you. I appreciate knowing that I can leave medical and know that things are in capable hands.
And there
especially
is a
given
sorry.
especially given some of what we've been going through recently.
And there's a chuckle that he just uncontrollably lets out. Oh, yes, Commander. It's been a wild ride, as it were. By far the most interesting posting I've ever had. Also my first posting, but I suppose that's neither here nor there. I was posted in the Starfleet Academy. I'm sorry, I'm digressing. Was there anything else you needed from me, Commander?
Oh, yes. Our stasis patient. How is any change?
Well, Commander, it's interesting. You should ask if there's any change. Did you forget that he disappeared when you all reappeared?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know where my mind is these days.
No need to explain, Commander. I've left the stasis field up just as you instructed, in case he is to return or rematerialize, but there has been no change to that bed. No change within that stasis field. Just a slight, small amount of background radiation, as there has been, similar to the radiation that you all had when you first reappeared. But other than that, nothing, Commander.
I see. We'll give it another week then, and then reassess. Provided the captain doesn't object, I think if there's no change after another week, we'll let the stasis field go and repurpose the bed as it should be.
Very well, Commander. Will there be anything else?
No, thank you, Nurse Hagen.
You're very welcome. Commander, one last thing. Is it all right if I leave my duty shift maybe 15 minutes early? I have a date.
Yes, I think that can be arranged, Nurse Hagen.
Excellent.
Enjoy your date.
I will. Thank you. And he's going to smile, kind of skip out of the room, and head off away. With that, we are actually going to pivot over to Ensign Zed. Ensign Zed. Now, you had mentioned, Ensign Zed, that you wanted to meet with a couple of folks and maybe even have a get-together of sorts. I'd like to know, who would you like to meet with first? I believe you had mentioned seeking out Krev, and if it's okay, I think that would be an interesting place to start with you seeking out Krev. And Krev, I would imagine you're probably in main engineering. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, Krev has been spending a lot of time in one of the I don't know if you call it like a machinist shop,
Okay.
but like there's a one of the rooms just off of main engineering where they do like design and fabrication kind of stuff. He's been spending a lot of time in there being kind of secretive.
I love that. So we cut to a scene of this machine shop, and Ensign said if someone was walking in, Lieutenant Commander Krev, if someone was walking in, seeing you working, what would they hear? What sounds would they see? Or what sights would they see as they walk in?
Right now, there's just kind of a sealed crate, and the smell of sawdust of all things, and also like welding, that kind of ozone smell you get from welding. And Krev is kind of hunched over a terminal.
Okay, I like it. So, Ensign said, you walk in, you smell the sawdust, you see the crate, and I leave the scene to both of you.
Commander Krev, am I disturbing anything?
Oh, not at all, Ensign. And he shuts down the monitor. How may I help you?
Is that sawdust that I smell? Are you working in wood?
Yes, I did do some making of wooden things.
Oh, replicated, or did you bring on your own lumber?
Unfortunately, I had to replicate the lumber.
Well, such is the case when in deep space. Might I inquire upon what you're working on, or is it too personal?
You may inquire, but I will not tell you.
Oh, I see. Well, it just so happens I was seeking you out to see if you could help me construct something else. While on Chronos Station, were you able to get sufficient scans of the crystals that were used within the dawn ceremony in order to replicate at least the likeness of one? Of course, not a functioning crystal that would affect a singularity, but something that would look much like the one that was held.
His expression kind of darkens, and he looks like he's almost glowering at you as like your expression, like as you keep going.
Right. Yeah.
And you finish, and he just kind of glares at you silently for a second, and as soon as you like do that like awkward Zed thing where he's like, let me backtrack. He's like, I did. Yes, that's actually sounds like an interesting thing.
Oh, well,
like me to model it for you. And he opens back up his terminal and starts bringing up sensor data.
And Zed will move around and kind of hover over you and watch as you're as you're doing your work there. Excellent. Thank you very much for your assistance in this. I was wondering, you, Commander Krev, you are the chief engineer over so many officers here. This ship and this crew are literally in your hands. It's quite a responsibility. Might I ask you, how did you know when you were ready to step up and become chief engineer?
Krev remains silent for a few minutes. For just a few seconds. He's obviously kind of collecting his thoughts. Ensign, and then he stops and looks up. That is a very good question. I've been in Starfleet for too long. Too many ships. And I've been in charge of engineering sections of starships for a great long time of that. I personally never worried about the command aspects of it. I started as an engineer. All I ever wanted to be was an engineer. And to do the level of work that I wanted to do, I had to be in charge. So I decided to be in charge from the beginning.
Ah, I see.
Other officers have learned differently. I know Captain Treso, he was always so ambitious, but at the same time, his love of engineering, I feel, held him back. He could have been a captain probably 3 years before if he had actually gone through with his original plans to leave for command school.
And so you say you focused upon what you wanted to do, and that naturally led you to this position. You never considered the command aspects of it.
I still don't.
When Commander Ajay and I were transported over to the Boudica, I was immediately questioned by the crew as to why an ensign would be made chief of security. And I myself have been asking myself that question quite recently. It seems that I have made many mistakes, the most of which, not the least of which, involving this very crystal here. I'm having you replicate the crystal, so as a reminder to myself as to what happens if I don't act rationally. I worry that perhaps I don't have the lobes yet for this position.
He looks up. Ensign, your lobes have done you well. You may not feel like you're ready for command or the responsibilities that have been placed on you, but you've filled the role with honor and with great aplomb. You should be commended.
Well,
and he hits a final button, and a large scale replicator over on the side does the swirly thing, and one of the crystals appears, and it's actually in a hovering, spinning with a base plate with light coming up through it, and it looks really nice.
It is marvelous, Commander. Thank you. Thank you very much. I assure you, I will display this prominently right beside the commemorative Lieutenant Paris plate that was given to me by Lieutenant Paris. And thank you for the words of encouragement. I hope that my lobes continue to distinguish me with honor.
Anytime, Ensign. Well, not anytime. Honestly, yeah. Well done. Now get out.
Yes, Commander. And then he'll head out of there.
And as we watch Ensign Zed exit out of the machine shop, we zoom through the deck of the Ragnar back up to Captain Traso, where Captain Traso has requested one Lieutenant Paris to meet with him. And Lieutenant Paris, you mentioned that you've been somewhat withdrawn, somewhat quiet, somewhat distant from the rest of the crew. Do you look put together in this moment? Do you look tired? How do you look?
I'm not even there.
You're not even there.
No,
Interesting. So we cut up to the captain's ready room. And Captain, you are sitting there, and a little chirp goes off at your computer console. And it says, appointment, meeting request with one Lieutenant Paris. You look at the time, you look at your door. Perhaps you look back to the time, back to the door, back to the time, back to the door again, and then realize Lieutenant Paris is 15 minutes late.
Computer, identify the location of Lieutenant Paris.
Lieutenant Paris, where are you?
Astrometrics.
Lieutenant Paris is currently in Astrometrics.
Traso to Paris. Computer, is Lieutenant Paris in any medical distress?
Lieutenant Paris is currently 100% healthy.
Captain to Lieutenant Paris. Come in, Lieutenant Paris.
Captain? Yes?
Is there any particular reason you're 15 minutes late for our appointment?
What? What time is it? Oh. I'll be right there, sir. Paris up.
As Paris goes out, you have a couple of other ensigns and junior officers that come in. They have you sign some things, put your fingerprint on it, sign off on a couple of, log entries and whatnot. And then Lieutenant Paris arrives in the ready room. Lieutenant Paris, how do you look?
Like I haven't slept and showered in 2 days. With the beginning of a longer beard than just the normal stubble he has.
Interesting.
Hair is a bit weird. And very much, yeah.
Mr. Paris, I appreciate your responding to my request.
I'm sorry, sir. I've just been really focused on the time thing. I'm sorry.
I mean, no apology necessary. Have you had your meeting with the ship's counselors yet?
Not yet, sir.
And Tracer will make a note on the computer tablet next to him.
There's like 3 missed appointments for the.
You have several communiques from the counselors aboard the ship that Lieutenant Paris has missed 3 separate appointments with both counselors over the last week.
Mr. Paris, we need to have a discussion about your general comportment over the past several days. The Astrometrics crew is beginning to request whether or not they can use your quarters as a lab space.
I guess I can put it on hold. I'm sorry. Yes. I'll let Astrometrics back to them. Yes.
Also, I'd like you to make it a priority to meet with the counselors.
Yes, sir.
It's clear, son, that you've been deeply affected by our recent misadventures. You need to talk to someone.
I'm fine, Captain.
I want you to do me a favor. I'll stand up. Look in that mirror over there. And tell me what you see.
I see myself, sir.
Does that look like the same officer who stepped aboard this ship 2 months ago?
I guess.
Do you notice anything about him that is different?
I mean, my beard's a bit longer, but it doesn't break regulation as far as I know.
You're disheveled. You've taken no pride in your appearance. And for a man who, one could argue, was relatively vain fairly recently, I think it is pretty apparent that you've been deeply affected in a way that has made you forget yourself. Now, I don't blame you, but I will offer you a shoulder and an ear if you need. And if you can't use mine, I will order you to use the counselor's.
If you think that's appropriate, sir.
I do. If you missed another counseling appointment, I will have you relieved of duty and forced to take the considerable vacation time you have booked, or banked, rather. The math will still be here when you're done. And if you're trying to crack what it sounds like you're trying to crack, don't let it consume you.
Yes, sir.
Also, you may be interested to. Have you ever read an old Earth novel, Moby Dick?
Yes, sir. It's a required reading by the family.
Well, then you'll recall the captain's obsession is what cost him his life.
Yes, sir.
Well, if you'll pardon me the heavy-handed metaphor, don't let the white whale cost you your life before you've even made captain, Paris.
Yes, sir.
All right, dismissed.
Yes, sir.
Oh, and Paris,
Sir.
the beard is fine, but maybe visit a barber. Your hair is getting a little shaggy.
Sorry, sir.
And as Paris exits via the turbo lift, we see on the captain's screen that there is a request for a meeting with your first officer, Commander Ajay. She had mentioned she had a couple of things she wished to discuss with you. And it's actually convenient because roughly 15 minutes after that, it's a busy day for the captain. Roughly 15 minutes after that, Ensign Zed had requested a meeting both with Commander Ajay and himself. So, Commander Ajay, you enter. You see the captain looking... How does he look after the conversation with Lieutenant Paris?
Bemused. Like, all right. Doctor, you'll be happy to know I just had that conversation we talked about with Mr. Paris. Hopefully he won't miss another one of his counseling appointments.
Good. Perhaps that means the counselors will stop pestering me about it as well.
The joys of command. Grab a seat. What can I do for you?
It's about what happened at Kronos Station.
So many things are. What specifically can I do for you?
My understanding is that Betazoids have more experience with telepathic encounters than I would personally.
No, my experience is maybe 18 years out of date, but I'm happy to lend you what advice I can.
I just can't forget. There were these voices, tens of thousands of them shouting. How do you How do you get past something like that, Captain?
Well, if you're a betazoid, you spend hours. For betazoids, it's like learning to talk. Eventually, you do it during your formative years, and eventually you've just sort of learned to tune out the things you don't need to hear. I don't know that I can offer you any kind of adult solution. I mean, if it was momentary or even temporary, you'll likely find that with time, the impact of it will fade. I've heard that brains are particularly good at making trauma recede.
They are. It's one of the more interesting things is how resilient all species are.
Mm-hmm. What I can tell you is, as a rule, nothing you'll hear in that type of experience will be a reflection on you. If that helps at all.
Well, I appreciate it, whether it helps right now or not. I guess I'll just have to exercise a bit more patience.
Mm-hmm.
There was one other thing, completely unrelated.
Certainly.
About our next stop. Do you have a shore leave priority list drawn up yet, Captain?
Actually, I've cleared with command that we can employ the holographic base crew to keep the Ragnar in orbit while the entire crew takes a 3-day short leave.
Well, speaking from an emotional standpoint, the crew's emotional health standpoint, that's certainly appreciated. I will make sure to convey that.
I appreciate it. Starfleet Command agreed with me that after the type of trauma we experienced, it may not make any sense to delay anyone's downtime.
Of course not. All right. You might need to speak with Mr. Paris again about that, if he tries to remain at Astrometrics.
I'm hopeful that perhaps he will not remain at Astrometrics, but I suppose we'll have to see. And honestly, if Dr. Shahir comes back here and gives me another earful about Paris hogging the Astrometric console, I may just have to take him off duty and revoke his access.
Well, I guess we will keep that particular scenario ready.
Yeah, I'll not likely notify Ensign Zed since I hear they're close. Maybe I'll let Zed's second in command know.
And as you mentioned, Zed's second in command, there is a and Ensign Zed, you've been looking to speak with the captain and Commander Ajay, and almost serendipitously, they're both in his ready room when you all but burst in.
Yeah, Zed will come
Mr.
in.
Zed, speak of the devil. Grab a seat.
Am I interrupting anything?
No, we're just discussing ship functions. Nothing that you couldn't be part of, and in fact, it might be beneficial for us to have you here.
Thank you. And he moves over to the chair and kind of sort of sits down and fidgets just a bit. Says, I've been wanting to speak to the both of you about my conduct on Chrono Station. As you are aware, I am the one who shattered the crystal and caused the white hole to malfunction and, well, turn into a black hole. I fear that my rash action jeopardized, well, all of might I say, all of the universe, all of the timelines. I think it was very foolish of me, and I would like to submit myself for disciplinary action.
The captain will lean back, look over at Commander Ajay.
Mr. Zed, despite my perhaps harsh words while we were on Kronos Station the second time, I truly believe that the person responsible for this mess was Yiva Cole, not your actions. And you are perhaps being too harsh on yourself in that regard.
While I do agree with you, I think perhaps my actions compounded an already unfortunate situation. Still, I should have respected the cultural rituals of the Numfell. I should have put more trust in them, and I should not have shattered the crystal. Although they should have told us that it was going to lift us up, and it would appear that we would be sucked into a singularity. But still, the action was very rash.
Mr. Zed, from all reports, there was no way you could have known what the effect of your action would be. And in fact, from a self-preservation standpoint, you probably were the only one of the senior crew who operated and took action with the type of haste one would expect from a tactical officer. As far as I'm concerned, you did exactly what I would have done in the same situation, although perhaps with a little more alacrity than I would have been able to muster.
Well, I thank you for saying so. And there was part of me that suspected that the two of you would be reluctant to enter in a disciplinary note into my permanent record. And for that reason, I have typed one up myself. And I was wondering if I could enter it in personally.
Well, Mr. Zed, you'll find actually that I have already spoken with your second in command, who has warned me of this maneuver, and we've already blocked your access to your own personal record through the subspace communication array. And Starfleet Command has been notified that there is a commendation been entered. So,
commendation? Oh, well, Captain, I'm very flattered. Thank you very much.
Well,
I don't know what to say.
I will admit that I did not understand much of Commander Ajay's report. However, it was noted several times by her that you faced a situation in which you had previously made a mistake, and this time faced your fear and trusted in the command of your superior, and that is to be commended.
Well, thank you for saying so, Captain, and thank you, Commander. And as a note, I did not take your criticism harshly. But I did take it to heart.
Yes.
I welcome all constructive criticism. Also, just any criticism in general, I welcome. But
Mr. Zed, maybe only welcome the constructive type.
Of course, yes, Captain. Well, I suppose that's all. If there's nothing else, I will.
A moment, Mr. Zed.
Oh, yes.
Commander Ajay and I we're just discussing the current status of Lieutenant Paris, who appears to have taken the events of the past few weeks fairly seriously. I was wondering if you could offer any insight.
Well, I must confess that we have been spending less time than usual together over the past few days. I thought perhaps he was working on some special project or some special assignment, but as you mention it, I think perhaps he is not quite himself. But I have entered into a formal contract of friendship with Lieutenant Paris, and therefore I am obligated to ensure his well-being. I will look into this matter at once, Captain.
That would be appreciated. I'll tell you as Chief of Security that it may come down to our revoking his access to the astrometric lab, as he's been spending an inordinate amount of time there.
I understand. I understand. I will begin on this project immediately.
Well, thank you. And if you hear from Dr. Shahir, absolutely don't let him through to my quarters again.
Of course, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Zed.
Thank you both. And he excuses himself and heads out the door.
Mm-hmm. As Ensign Zed heads out the door, Commander Ajay, do you linger or do you also take your leave?
That was everything I had, Captain. Was there anything else?
Only on a personal note, Shahira, are you all right?
There was a lot that happened and a lot that I think I'm still working through, but I do feel a lot better about things the further we get from everything that happened.
Well, I'll just tell you that I did enter accommodation on your part as well. Your intuition that the Chronos station would be the crux of the matter did turn out to be on the nose, so I have noted it in your permanent record.
I appreciate it, Captain, but I think part of it might have been those psychic resonances I mentioned.
Perhaps, but your deciding to take action on them is certainly reflective of your concern for the ship and your responsibility.
Well, then, as Ensign Zed said, thank you, Captain.
I do have a question for you.
Of course.
It has been brought to my attention that perhaps the responsibilities of Chief Medical Officer and First Officer may be too overwhelming for one single officer to hold. What is your opinion on the matter?
Well, I'd say that if my complement of nurses and counselors was any less competent, perhaps it would be. But I've been able to leave things in their hands when the duties of first officer have demanded it. And they've handled it quite admirably, I would say.
All right, then. Thank you.
Thank you for your continued trust, Captain.
Is Commander...
You'll have it until you fuck up, honestly.
Brilliant. And as Commander Ajay rises up to leave, we cut to a scene of just outside of the captain's ready room, across the way to the bridge, through the conference room, and we see one Lieutenant Commander Krev bumping into Commander Ajay as they both round the corner somewhat quickly. Lieutenant Commander Krev, I will embellish slightly that your hands look to be slightly dusty. You look maybe a little more disheveled than normal, not in the same way as Lieutenant Paris. Yours is not a obsession. Yours is a I'm doing a thing, leave me alone. That's the impression that I see. The look that you're giving off. But you two run into each other and please take it away.
Lieutenant Commander.
Good to see you.
You as well. My apologies. I don't seem to be paying as much attention as I should be.
Things have been weird.
Yes, very much so. The upcoming shore leave was much anticipated.
I think it'll do the crew good.
I think it will do all of us good.
Krev has a bag slung over his shoulder. Like one of those engineering kind of bags. He goes, "I got something for you, Commander. I don't know. I feel a good sense of loss since Jormungandr left the ship, and I don't know. My hands just felt a little idle, so I made something for each of the senior crew." And he reaches that down and opens up his bag and kind of shuffles through it, and then he pulls out a medical tricorder, but it's obviously like handcrafted out of wood, and it has runes and like uh, uh, vines and stuff like carved in it. And the medical scanner looks like it's made out of crystal of some sort, and he hands it to her. It's a custom medical tricorder. I wanted to give all of the command crew something, I don't know, Ragnary.
Ragnari. Well, thank you, Krev. It's amazing.
Yeah. I made it out of Patal wood from Bajor. I couldn't get my hands on any real wood, but I did replicate it.
No, I imagine it would have been quite difficult given how far out we are.
Well, anyways, good to have you back. And he rushes off.
And as he brushes past Commander Ajay, we watch as she leaves the hallway heading towards the central turbo lift to head back to wherever she wishes to go. And we see Commander Krev, Lieutenant Commander Krev, move his way across the bridge, past a bunch of officers who give him, salutes, and Lieutenant Commander. And just when you thought, Captain Treso, that you were done with your meetings, there is a doot-doot-doot-doot. And before the doot-doot-doot ends, Lieutenant Commander Krev is inside your ready room. Take it away, gentlemen.
Hey, Cap. You got a minute?
For you, anytime. Get me out of these replicator ration meetings. These figures are terrible. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
And no, we're not going to search for the dragon any further. Sensors detected no trace of him. We're not going back.
Yeah. He's gone off to live his life. Anyways, I made you something. And he reaches down into his bag and pulls out a pad that's also been customized. It looks like it actually looks like it's been carved out of stone. Again with the runes, but the whole thing looks like it almost has like a Starfleet kind of motif to it. Like the pads usually have like the comm badge symbol in the center, and that's still there, but it's just surrounded by like Celtic knotwork and stuff. And he hands it to you.
Gosh, this is gorgeous.
Yeah, I kind of missed the dragon, and I don't know. I wanted to make the crew, or at least the senior staff, something Ragnary.
Well, then you'll be happy to know that I felt bad that you'd lost your dragon, and I have made you something myself. And he'll pull open a drawer, pulls out a little case, pops it open, and it looks like just a standard comm badge. But he's like, so I've tied this one into the transporter systems. It's got a special quantum transponder that'll actually access the transporter systems from anywhere in the known galaxy, and probably even a couple of other galaxies. You should just be able to tap it 3 times. It'll automatically take you into transporter room 1. I'm just tired of losing friends.
Wow.
And transporters are my specialty. So
Krev picks it up, looks at it, reaches down, picks up a tool, pops open the back. That's good work. I guess you haven't lost it.
Oh, high praise.
He pulls off his old comm badge, sticks it back in his bag, and puts on the new one. Good work, son. I appreciate it. And he gets up and leaves. Just no ceremony or anything, just fucks off.
Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. And as we watch Lieutenant Commander Krev leave We see the captain perhaps take a breather for a moment from all of the replicator rationing meetings. We see him perhaps even close his eyes for a moment when there is another do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. And yes, someone else needs his time. But we're going to pivot away from the captain, and we're going to head all the way down to Holodeck 2. Holodeck 2, where as the lights come up on Holodeck 2, we see Lieutenant Paris in the middle of a boxing ring fighting what appears to be a giant lizard, only to be described as likely a Gorn, also wearing comically large-sized boxing gloves. And the two of them are going at each other. And I'd like to ask Lieutenant Paris, who is winning right now?
It would be pretty much a stalemate right now.
Okay.
Where we're both just beating like the living daylights out of each other.
Body shot. So
but
good.
It's more like
Beautiful.
like two tired fighters just continuing to fight even though they shouldn't.
So they've been going at each other for a while. And Lieutenant Commander Krev, as you left the captain's ready room, you had contacted the ship's computer to find out where Lieutenant Paris was, and you discover he is in Holodeck 2, running the program. What's the name of the program, Lieutenant Paris? What's the name of the program?
Oh, it's probably like something like Paris Boxing Alpha 3 or something like that.
Paris Boxing Alpha 3 reptile style.
Subtitle: Thriller with the Killer.
There it is. But as you walk through the doors of the holodeck, entering in, you see this large ring with the red ropes around it. You see this massive Gorn breathing heavily, goes to take a swing, and in this moment, Lieutenant Paris dodges under the blow, comes up and over, and socks it right in the side of the head, and the Gorn goes down like a sack of potatoes. There is a loud glump, and you hear the Gorn brrr, and he is completely unconscious. In Paris, you are drenched in sweat. Your face hurts, your hands hurt, your body hurts, you're tired. And Lieutenant Commander Krev, what do you say?
Nice shot, son.
Huh? Oh, sorry, Commander. Didn't hear you come in.
You were busy.
Yeah. Can I help you with anything?
Got something for you. Little something.
Of course, there's someone at my door right as you start speaking. I'm very sorry.
Oh,
yeah. So as Lieutenant Paris starts to kind of zone out for a second, he starts to kind of zone out for a second in this moment. Lieutenant Commander Krev, you notice a couple of things about Lieutenant Paris in this moment. His eyes seem somewhat sunken in, and it looks to be, and you're no medical doctor, right? But it looks to be almost as if it's more than a lack of sleep. And I'd actually like you to make a roll here, Lieutenant Commander Krev. I'm going to have you roll a presence engineering difficulty of 2. You do have 6 momentum, by the way, so use it as you see fit. But I want to see if you pick up something particular about Lieutenant Paris in this moment. There is something I'm curious if you, being who you are, being how dedicated you are to certain projects, might pick up with Lieutenant Paris and how he is currently acting in this moment.
Okay. I'm gonna use enough momentum for 2 extra dice.
Mm-hmm. That'd be 3. Right? Perfect.
Yeah. Insight and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Submit. 4d20. Submit.
That is 4 successes. You have 1 floating momentum. Yeah. So here's what you are picking up on. Lieutenant Paris is that step beyond sleep deprived that you only get to when you become so obsessed with something that it consumes you entirely. You know this look, Lieutenant Commander Krev. You know this look because at one point in your life, you had a wife. And it was your obsessions with different projects, with the ship you may have been on. It was this look that you realize, this state of being that Lieutenant Paris now finds himself in. It was too late when you realized. It was too late for you, but maybe it's not too late for Lieutenant Paris. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Please continue.
Sorry about that.
No. Everything okay?
Yeah, it was groceries. They were supposed to be a bit later.
Krev kind of stops in the middle of like saying, I've got something for you. And he just kind of looks at Paris and he says, "What's eating you, boy?"
At those words, you see something break. And he's like, I failed at everything.
Did you?
I didn't do anything right. And he slumps down, like not falls over, but like sits down more. Stunk.
Krev rolls his eyes, sets down his walks up to the boxing ring, sets his bag down, waddles his way under the ropes. It's very awkward. This is not a thing that Tellarites are good at, is climbing under boxing ring ropes. And he kind of pops back up and walks over to you. So what did you do wrong? Tell me.
I said yes. I accepted his deal.
Whose deal?
Who else? If Zed hadn't shot him, the words would have come out. He broke me. And he gets up, just walks away, trying to hide his feelings.
The Gorn starts to get up. You can see that all of its wounds, its bruises are starting to heal up. So it's like the program's starting to reset itself. And then it gets into that position. And you see it start to kind of bob and weave a little bit.
Computer freeze program.
Burp.
So, Lieutenant, what are you going to do about it?
I don't know.
What have you done about it?
Nothing. I don't know what to do.
So all of this, the lack of sleep, the lack of personal hygiene, the blowing off of your responsibilities and your duties as an officer, that's nothing you've been doing. All of the time you've spent in astrometrics, that's nothing.
Doesn't solve the problem.
What have you been doing?
I've been running.
To
And he
where?
takes the Gorn. Like,
Gorn doesn't move.
So you've been running from the problem, right? The thing that you did, the decision that you made.
But I didn't make that decision. But I did make the decision, but I didn't because he made.
So what you're telling me is that a powerful being got into your head, forced you to do a thing that you did not want to do and would not do.
But he
and
didn't
you
get
are...
in my head. That's why it's so goddamn. And he punches all times.
The Gorn's head does one of these like very solid like
Point.
it doesn't move.
There are different kinds of getting in your head. He obviously got in your head if you agreed.
But he wasn't there. He wasn't. I didn't. He stayed out of my head. He didn't talk in my head.
Yeah, there's things other than the supernatural getting in the head. I'm in your head right now.
At those words, he just like freezes and he's like.
You
And
think you're
something
the
like-
only? You think you're the only one that's ever fucked up? You think you're the only one who's ever made a mistake and then obsessed over it to the point of ruining their life, ruining all of their relationships,
I've
tanking
made
their
mistakes.
careers?
I've
Yeah, and we
broken
all have.
things, but
So you've been running from your problem. What are you running to? You can't just run away. You have to have a destination. Where are you going?
I don't know.
Because at this point, the only place you're going is out of Starfleet. If you don't pick yourself up, find something positive to put this energy into. I know where you are. I have been there. I have looked like that. It cost me my marriage. It cost me the life that I thought I had. It can cost you everything. Son, you need to stop running away and start running to. Find something to focus this energy, the regrets. Put it into something instead of taking it away from yourself.
Before Paris can respond, your comm badge chirps. This is Hagen to Lieutenant Paris.
Yeah, Hagen.
Were we still on for tonight?
Wait, what time is it?
7 p.m. Shipboard time. You were supposed to meet me
Shit.
in the. It's okay. We can reschedule for another time. You sound exhausted.
Give me 15 minutes.
Nurse
I'll be
Hagen
back.
out.
Hey, Krev hits his communicator. Nurse Hagen, this
Yes,
is
sir.
This is Lieutenant Commander Krev.
Yes, sir.
I am sorry. I had detained Lieutenant Paris. He will be with you in a half hour. I am sorry for disrupting your planned evening.
Oh, thank you, Lieutenant Commander. Is he still with you? Can you let him know
Yes,
I'll be in?
he knows.
Okay. Thank you. And he sounds much more excited in this moment than he did before. And that kind of disappointment that he was expressing seems to have washed away. And as the comm cuts out, Lieutenant Paris, Lieutenant Commander Krev.
Krev looks at Paris. Get your shit together, boy. And he walks out over to his bag, picks it up, roots through it for a second, picks out a tricorder, and it's just a standard Mark. What is it? 580. But it's completely made out of like metal with like some leather accents to it, all etched and stuff with the Celtic knotwork and stuff. And he says, "I made you something, Lieutenant." And he tosses it back.
Catches
I
it
figured,
awkwardly with his gloves.
I figured we've all gone through a bit of stuff. I had my own demons to excise after this set of missions, and well, this is how I handle things. And he just climbs down, walks out, pauses at the door, and looks back and says, "Have fun, Lieutenant, and try and find somewhere healthy to run." And he just walks out.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Lieutenant Paris, you are left in the holodeck yourself with a frozen Gorn behind you and perhaps a few moments to think. But as you take a few moments to think, you get a little chirp on your new tricorder. And as you open it up, there are 2 meeting reminders. There is one at, let's see here, 600 hours PM is what, 1800 hours? 1800 hours. Wow, I don't know military time. There is one at 1800 hours with Ensign Zed, and then roughly 40 minutes later to an hour later, there is the meeting with, I suppose, the get-together with Nurse Hagen. So you have 2 back-to-back get-togethers that you're supposed to attend, and you are currently about 10 minutes late for the one with Zed. So where does Lieutenant Paris rush off to?
He comes to Zed.
Ensign Zed, you are muted. You are also currently sitting in your quarters along with Ensign Valles, waiting.
Lieutenant.
Zed here.
Zed, buddy, look, I totally lost track of time.
That is quite all right.
I'm gonna have to postpone this.
Oh, I'm afraid this is an appointment that cannot be postponed.
Because I have 25 minutes before I go see Hagen, and I still need to take a shower. Like I've pushed off the evening twice with him already, and this is like my last chance.
Ensign, it is my observation that humans tend to be very concerned with postponing dates.
That is true. Perhaps after this date, or perhaps tomorrow evening.
Okay, yeah, just probably not tonight.
If the date goes well, he will be unable to attend our function.
Thanks,
Very
Liz. Hope your hand feels good. I know it must have been painful.
Well, I will keep you no longer, Lieutenant.
Again, sorry, buddy. Okay, I'll make it up to you, I promise.
Very well. Zed out.
Beautiful. And Zed, as you come out from him, you and Valles are sitting in your quarters. What do you guys do in this moment? I want to give you guys just a quick scene here to be with one another there. What is the situation?
Well, Mr. Velez, that is very unfortunate. The captain has tasked us with a very special mission. Something has been disturbing Lieutenant Paris, and it is our job to cheer him up. Do you think you are capable of that, Mr. Velez?
I am unfamiliar with the process of causing a human to cheer. Should I invite him to the holodeck and achieve some sort of sporting victory? Perhaps catch a touchdown?
Oh, yes. I think touching the down would be a perfect exercise between the two of you. Any of these Earth customs would probably suffice.
Do we know what Lieutenant Paris's sporting preference would be?
Did Lieutenant Paris ever...
You know what? Give me a presence command. Since it is a contract, give me a presence command difficulty of 1. And you do have a focus because he's your best friend.
And we have spoken about it. So
you have spoken about it.
Oh, we have spoken about. Oh, yes. Was it? What's that game from Next? It was a game from Next Generation, wasn't it? Oh, it wasn't. Okay, sorry.
Oh boy.
It's from Voyager.
It's from from Voyager.
I love it. I love it.
All right. So let's see. We want to do
Presence command.
Presence. Oh, what about insight command?
I'll take it. Absolutely.
All right. Insight command.
He accidentally sedated himself season 1, episode 1.
Yeah.
That's so true, Commander Ache. He did accidentally sedate himself episode 1, season 1. He's had some time to grow.
Would investigation?
Oh yeah, you've already got a focus because he's your best friend. There it is. All right. So what is it, Lieutenant Paris? What's your favorite sport?
It's velocity.
That's right.
Phaser game.
That's
velocity.
Right.
That's great. Yes. All right.
Actually, is velocity? How many players is in velocity?
It can be.
Can there be 3?
It can be. It's like one of those games where it can be solo up to like teams and like anything it can go. So, yeah.
Mr. Velez, I think that perhaps we should engage him in his favorite sport, velocity. I think that would be an excellent idea.
Velez gives Zed the up and down. Perhaps we should practice first. I would hate to have him beat us at velocity so badly that he loses respect for us.
Mr. Velez, your logic is impeccable. Of course, yes. Since we have nothing else to do this evening, I say we partake in velocity.
Indeed.
And then the two of us will head out.
Yeah, the two of you head out. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So as the two of you head out, I would like to open the floor to the rest of the crew. Are there any other scenes anyone would like to have with each other, with NPCs, anyone, any of the other crew, prior to our final scene of this episode? I feel like we've had some very good moments. I know it's not our longest episode we've ever had, but our final scene,
Sorry, I was muted. I do want to.
Perfect.
I need to have one more scene with Zed to give him his present.
Perfect.
Oh, nice.
That's absolutely perfect.
I had just one little thing also.
Yeah, I love it. No, I'm glad you guys brought it up. That's why I offered. So let's do Lieutenant Commander Krev first. Lieutenant Commander Krev, you will find Ensign Zed in the hallway on the way actually to the holodeck, perhaps, to practice his skills at velocity.
Mr. Velez.
Yes, and Mr. Velez is with him as well. So we will cut to a scene of you guys just outside of the holodeck. And as I get that scene set up, why don't you 3 actually take it away?
Commander Krev.
Ensign, there you are. I've been looking for you.
Oh, have you? Well, here I am.
Commander, shall I excuse you?
No, you can stay. Didn't get anything for you. Sorry.
That is all right.
He reaches down into his bag and he pulls out a Type 2 phaser. And it is also steel, but it's like patterned Damascus, like beautifully, like not like patterned Damascus, but like, watered steel, like and also etched. And then the handle is actually like leather. It almost looks like a sword hilt. And he hands it to you. I figured I had some things I wanted to work through. Damn, I missed that dragon. Anyways, I made you something. It's Ragnar-y. Enjoy. And he turns around and walks away.
Thank you, Commander Krev. Is it functional?
Oh, yeah. Did a few special modifications myself.
Yeah.
Ensign, I will ask that if we are going to play velocity, you use one of the standard phasers and not the souped up one the chief engineer has just presented you with.
Of course. I would not wish to violate any of the rules.
And Ensign Zed, you said you had one more scene you'd like to have as well. This could be after the velocity
And
practice.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a scene, but Zed, he's going to go all in security mode, and he's going to be monitoring Paris over the next few days.
Okay.
And he's monitoring how many hours he spends in recreational and downtime based to work, and based on that, he will give his recommendations as to the hours that Paris will be permitted to the astrometrics lab to encounter.
Ooh, I love it.
But
So-
so we might see Paris on his date or whatever. But
Yeah.
then you'll see Zed over, like in the corner drinking his spinach juice.
I love it. I
He
absolutely
and Hagen go back to their quarters.
love
Meanwhile,
it.
Zed's just crossing back and forth across
Yeah,
up and down the hall.
Yeah.
Yes. And our final scene is of Ensign Zed in one of the security stations watching a camera feed from one of the lounges aboard the Ragnar, actually the forward lounge, which is just above the deflector array. Allows a beautiful view of the direction the Ragnar is heading. You can sort of see the soft blue glow. The Ragnar has exited the Shackleton expanse on its route to the recreation planet, the vacation planet, which was named... Remind me again, Captain Treso? I know, it slipped my mind for just a moment.
Just a second, I'll just pull up the...
Amaressa. It's
Amerius?
Amerius 5 is what it
I'm
was.
ready.
Amariosa 5. It's
Amariosa
Amariosa 5.
Perfect. And our final scene is Lieutenant Paris entering into the lounge. We see him looking... How does he look?
Back
Simple.
to his normal self.
Back to his normal self. Is his beard still a little longer?
Nope.
No? Trimmed up?
Back to
Okay.
back to his stubbly looking weird beard.
I love it. And as you move in, you see Nurse Hagen sitting at the bar, nursing a drink. There are 2 glasses in front of him. And Lieutenant Paris, as you slowly approach, he turns to face you, and you see him frown. He says, "Oh, you trimmed it. I liked it when it was getting a little longer." And that, my friends, is the last scene, the last moment of Star Trek Valhalla, Episode 5, Odyssey. And I just want to compliment the crew of the Ragnar for a delightful episode. I thought you guys did a great job. I think I said a grand total of maybe 20 words this entire time. This is the most talking I've done, which was great because I got to sit back and just watch you all unfold. And I want to commend Lieutenant Commander Krev, Commander Ajay, Ensign Zed, Lieutenant Paris, Captain Tracy, all of you did an absolutely fantastic job of driving the story, and it was nice to see all of you have a moment to reflect on everything that's happened. But our next episode will actually be you all arriving at the R&R planet, where things may not be exactly as they seem. Dun 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 dun, he says, and wiggles his hands mysteriously. But any final thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns from the crew of the Ragnar before we wrap up today's episode?
I thought it was lovely. Yeah, really great character moments from all the characters.
I love
Yeah,
the
good game, guys.
unexpected therapy with Prev. Like,
Yeah, that was great. That was
Very
really
good. Yeah. Very, very good. Well, as I always say at the end of every session, thank you so much to the players for playing. Thank you to the viewers for viewing. Happy gaming, everybody. You will catch these fine and beautiful players next Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Episode 6 of Star Trek Valhalla. We are officially halfway through Season 2 with numerous more episodes as well as numerous, hopefully, more seasons, ? He says mischievously. I think we have a lot more stories to tell and a lot more growth to witness from this beautiful crew. You're not all commanders yet, so you have room to grow, unlike a certain Magnell crew. All right? Unlike a certain Magnell crew. But there it is. All right. But hey, good night, everybody. And again, happy gaming. We will catch you next time. Cheers.